Phil, back to you.
Amanda, tonight we learned new details on what will be available to you to improve your job skills. The governor proposing to spend more money on next-level job programs from $20 to more than $40 billion over the next 2 years if approved by the legislature. The programs pay for the training grants that will lead to jobs in the top 5 industries, including advanced manufacturing, IT, logistics, healthcare, and building and construction. The governor also wants to introduce every student to a career or apprenticeship program. RTV6's Mark Mullins is live at the State House with Secretary Milo Blair, who's responsible for making sure the issue of jobs is always front and center. Mark?
Raphael, good evening. Yes, we're here with Blair Milo, who is the Secretary of Career Connections, has valuable insight tonight. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
I want to get right into this. The governor mentioned the Next Level Jobs program. How critical is that program for the future of the state economy?
Well, as the governor shared this evening, that workforce is the defining issue of our decade, and Next Level Jobs has been a huge tool for being able to skill up some Hoosiers, to retrain some Hoosiers as well into different positions, and has been a tremendously successful program.
The plan for that is to increase spending in those programs. Is there enough of that funding to get the job done in the scale the governor wants to see happen?
Well, we're encouraged with being able to double both the Workforce Ready grant of being able to have individuals step into some high-wage, high-demand credentials that would be associated with different jobs, as well as doubling the funding towards the employer training grant. That we've seen tremendous success in both of those areas, and that'll play a huge role in being able to get Hoosiers connected with really exciting and dynamic careers.
We're talking about students as well, the students that are in schools now, a big part of the future there. The governor talked about introducing those students to career and apprenticeship programs in the future. What does he envision with this project?
Well, he laid out even last year a goal of getting to 25,000 apprenticeship programs. We made tremendous strides over the last year of growing. I think we're over 400 and some work-based learning experiences this year, as well as establishing the Office of Work-Based Learning and Apprenticeship. We're really just hitting our stride and growing those kinds of learning experiences for students and adults to be able to have some context in their learning, to have hands-on learning through work-based learning and apprenticeship. And so the goal is to have as many folks as possible be able to experience the type of job and have awareness around the kind of work that's available by having those kinds of learning opportunities.
Some lofty goals ahead as the governor set forth. Raphael, we're live at the State House. We're getting some insight on how these programs will work in the future. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
We'll see what happens. We want to thank Secretary Blair Milo for her time tonight. A number of schools, including Vincennes, Central 9 in Greenwood, and Ivy Tech, are among the places ready to enroll you right now to help lead you to the jobs in the greatest of demands. I sat down with the president of Ivy Tech, Sue Elsperman, in one of the school's robotics labs, as you can see. We began our discussion about what's getting in the way of people taking advantage of all of these different programs being offered right now. How do I make that transition? How do you encourage someone to say, let me give it a shot at the very least, when I have to still work to pay the bills? I got to pay for health care, transportation, daycare, football camp, basketball camp. You know it. I mean, you know the stresses of a family. How do you get those folks who are sitting on the sidelines saying, I think I like what I see, and I hear what she's saying, but I don't know. It's scary.
We've been reinventing Ivy Tech to be exactly the place for someone who is that working adult with responsibilities. Our movement to 8-week classes has been about students who can't control their life for 16 weeks, but can control things for 8 and just focus on one thing, and then the next, and then the next. And in fact, we find they'll graduate much faster and they'll have more success. So they need to know we're doing everything we can here to make that journey possible for them. They just have to come in our door. And in fact, with our 8-week courses, we just started classes this week. If they come in our door today, they can be started in March in a program that will get them that degree or credential. So I want to assure people who are watching, the jobs are there, but they have to take the step out to come back. You don't have to go full-time. You have to go part-time, at least, right? So you can have a day job and still come to us at night, or a part-time job and come to us and work. But these are programs that have jobs on the other end, and they are good paying jobs.
Still ahead, the road to success and the multiple choices to making money and enjoying a career. And our political insiders are here to talk about the impact of the governor's speech you just saw on RTV6. Did it make a difference, and who will benefit? You're watching Hiring Hoosiers, State of the Union, the state only on RTV6. College is not for everyone. Many find happiness and financial well-being through a trade or a certification program. Our Mark Mullins takes a look at the skilled trade jobs gap and how those careers are on the road to success.
Oh, I love it. You know, I got sparks running through my veins. There's nothing more fun than, melting stuff together.
That's Jacob Esslinger, carving out a lucrative path by studying welding in an 8-month program here at Lincoln College of Technology on Indy's northwest side.
I mean, when you get into it, you can get into like $90,000 in debt in college to get the same amount of, money as a job. And I prefer working with my hands and this sort of work, so it just made sense to me to, go burn metal together than, sit there and read books all day.
It takes a serious conversation with yourself and a self-awareness, knowing whether a 4-year university education is for you and worth it, or whether it's not.
We do have a skilled trades gap.
And that is what the president of Lincoln College, Daniel Richens, is trying to convey.
The demand for the labor is there, but that also entails a need for us as a society to realize that something that may be labeled as a blue-collar job brings green into your pocket.
At Lincoln College, students can enroll in trade programs like welding, auto technician, diesel technician, computerized numerical coding, and electronics.
We know if you have a small fire, you're still going to have a fire alarm.
This instructor teaches the ins and outs of alarm systems for homes and businesses. These trucks are part of the hands-on classroom here. Students are tasked with disassembling and reassembling them as part of their schooling here. And open positions are out there to be filled with certified, skilled workers. But Richens hopes households will embrace a mental shift regarding what success looks like.
If my son doesn't go to a 4-year college or my daughter doesn't go to a 4-year university, somehow I haven't let them do the right thing or I haven't led them in the right direction. When in reality, the opportunities for students who graduate from a career college and would be put into what would be traditionally considered a blue-collar job, the economic opportunities there are tremendous.
So it is a big benefit knowing that we're going to have a job after this.
Mark Mullins, RTV6.
The college says even with a successful graduation rate, it still cannot keep up with the demand to produce enough graduates. Let's look at the numbers to weigh in these options. A university education typically takes 4 years to complete and can cost between $40,000 to more than $100,000. In comparison, the programs at Lincoln last between 7 to 13 months and tuition ranges between $19,000 to $33,000. Both political parties tonight share an interest in attracting good-paying jobs. Democrats believe that the state can do more for workers. Joining us now is Indiana's Democratic Party Chairman John Zodi to fill us in as we heard the governor speak for about 33 minutes. Your response to the speech?
Well, I was disappointed. There doesn't seem to be much bold vision or leadership from this governor. Raphael, I got to tell you, the word manure appeared in his speech, but pre-K didn't. There are about 80,000 four-year-olds in the state of Indiana, and about 75,000 of them don't have access to the publicly funded pre-K program here in Indiana. To not mention pre-K, how many kids are going to miss out on that opportunity over the next 3 years when the governor is going to kick the can down the road a little further and expand pre-K? There's no dedicated money for teacher pay. They can say whatever they want, but they're going to pass the buck to schools and make them make the choices instead of dedicating teacher money through grants or something else by this administration. No bold leadership here from Governor Holcomb in his speech, and I was disappointed.
That's the opening salvo. What are the issue of jobs? The governor is spending a lot of time on that issue. What can Democrats do? You're talking about worker parity and pay. What really can you bring to the floor when you don't have the numbers to do so?
Well, it does start with those basic things like pre-K. Right? We are 48th in quality of life. We are in the top 10 for infant mortality. You've got to start back to the basics and look at kids when they're born, when they're young, and then look further down the road for K through 12 education, which is just being funded to keep up with the rate of inflation, it looks like, over the next few years.
And we all love kids. I like a good kid and could squeeze them on the cheek, but as you know, someone who's 35 or 40 wants to see some more in their paycheck. So what does the Democratic Party have to offer if that is something you think is an issue?
Well, Indiana Democrats have been talking for years that we are for raising wages here in Indiana. They're lagging behind the rest of the nation. We're for good, strong public education. We're for protecting access to quality health care. We're for everyone feeling safe and secure and protected equally under Indiana law. We've been fighting for an inclusive hate crimes bill for years. Republicans are late to the game on a lot of these things and without bold leadership.
And you may be for all those things, but as you also know, I've mentioned this already, you don't have the numbers in the State House to really do anything. So then how do you forge relationships to at least get your agenda to be heard by the party that really can do whatever it wants without having a Democrat listen to one of their bills?
Well, you said the key there. They can do whatever they want, and they haven't done a lot for the last number of years when they've controlled state government. Democrats do have numbers. They've got good common sense legislators in the House and in the Senate who know how to work across the aisle, work on things like helping fund pre-K if we can ever get the Republicans to agree to expand that, like looking at things for job training and making sure that we are focusing on the right industries and the right job skills, working with our friends in organized labor to talk about apprenticeships. There are a lot of things that Democrats are for and will be for and will continue to be for as our numbers increase at the State House.
The chairman of the Indiana Democratic Party, John Zodi, thank you so much for the response. We appreciate your time. You've heard from the Democrat. Of course, tonight it was the Republican governor who was making his speech, the State of the State address right here on RTV6, as he did focus on a number of different issues tonight. Of course, we now have our political insiders who are now at Democracy Couch to talk about the big issues. I want to begin with Republican Abby Bauer, Democrat Kip Tu. Good evening to both of you and welcome to the program, Hiring Hoosiers, our State of the State special. You heard the Democrat. What did you make of that?
You know, I thought it was a great speech. I thought there was a lot of leadership, and I think it is it's building on the foundation of over a decade of Republican leadership. You know, once you lay that foundation, you know, maybe $570 some million over the biennium for K-12 education isn't enough. Maybe it will never be enough for Democrats, but I think this spending is it's the envy of states in our region. It is the envy of states in our entire country because of the leadership that we've had over the, a decade and more of Republican leadership, building up our state's financial health. So I was very pleased with the speech and the wide range of issues covered.
Kip, we went to a pre-media briefing about 2 hours ago. It seemed to me that the governor's office wants to really sell this issue of covering the teacher pension liability, $140 million, which does save schools a lot of money. Will that be enough to soothe teachers who are seeking to the State House for more pay, better wages?
We'll see. It sounds to me like a short-term fix and not a long-term fix. I'll say I thought it was a good speech. It was well delivered by the governor. He did a nice job up on the
it's
stage
good to see
today.
bipartisanship here on Democracy Couch.
But it was missing some important ingredients, and I think Chairman Zodi pointed some of those out. I think the thing that Hoosiers are worried about, he didn't really address. Clearly, he talked a lot about jobs, but he didn't talk about protecting pre-existing conditions, for example, in health care. We've got this big national debate about that. I think there's a lot of Hoosiers out there who are quite worried about whether they're going to have health care here in the future based upon what's going on in Washington. And I was struck, I have to say, he doesn't sound much like Donald Trump. And that could be to his benefit as we go forward.
But has he ever, though, in fairness to the governor?
No, I don't think he hasn't ever. But I mean, every day we're in the reality show, which is Donald Trump, and this governor's trying to be a different kind of politician. We'll see if that's what Hoosiers want.
There is a gubernatorial race in 2020. I mean, obviously, everyone is trying to make sure that they have a good record. Do you think that plays into making sure that the state's finances are good, that there's good programs to talk about as we head into a 2020 race?
It's going to be interesting whether the governor's race is going to be more like a presidential or it's going to be like a governor's race where it's going to be a meat and potatoes a type of race. And I think the governor did miss an opportunity to talk about some what I think are meat potato issues tonight.
You get the last word on this. Did he miss the boat, or do you feel comfortable in what the governor said and saying that the state is on the right path?